We've covered the CNS, but that's only part of the story. Without our peripheral nerves, we wouldn't have communication between our brains and the rest of our bodies. Without this link, we'd have no means to move around and would be unable to enjoy sensory experiences like a beautiful sunset or delicious strawberry ice cream. Further, we wouldn't have the unconscious control that lets us shift from passive activity to important actions in the blink of an eye. The PNS is subdivided just like the CNS, but thankfully with a bit less vocabulary. The two main branches are the somatic and autonomic nervous systems, which are organized based on the functions of each branch. Somatic nerves execute voluntary movement, innervating skeletal muscles throughout the body. In contrast, the autonomic nervous system controls involuntary responses, such as sweating and pupil dilation, and is composed of two complementary branches, the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous systems. The sympathetic branch induces the fight or flight response under conditions of acute stress, whereas the parasympathetic system dampens the acute stress response in order to facilitate relaxation and normal physiological functions like digestion. The sympathetic nervous system rapidly mobilizes body systems to respond to acute environmental stressors, accelerating heart and respiration rates to improve the oxygenation of skeletal muscle tissue and simultaneously reducing blood flow to organ systems that are less essential in times of acute stress, such as the digestive tract. If you're running away from a lion, it's more helpful to expend energy moving your legs faster than it is digesting your lunch. The sympathetic response also dilates the pupils, allowing more light to enter the eye and heightening your visual acuity. Think when you startle your cat and their pupils dilate, they jump up and then they run out of the room before you even realize you sat on their tail. Sorry about that, Luna. The mobilization of these responses is primarily dependent on the hormone epinephrine, also referred to as adrenaline, and the closely related hormone norepinephrine, or noradrenaline, both of which are produced by the adrenal medulla and some sympathetic neurons. In contrast, the parasympathetic branch of the autonomic nervous system de-escalates the body from its heightened sympathetic state, lowering the heart rate, constricting the pupils, and so on. You may hear the parasympathetic response referred to as the rest and digest response, emphasizing its role in dampening the sympathetic response and restoring physiological processes like digestion. This is the part of the PNS engaged when we're at rest, eating, or relaxing with our pet cat after feeding them some treats. In both sympathetic and parasympathetic branches, two neurons act as intermediates propagating the signal from the central nervous system to target organs. The preganglionic neuron synapses at a peripheral ganglion on the postganglionic neuron, which then synapses and acts on the target organ. In the parasympathetic system, preganglionic neurons are long, synapsing on ganglia near or on the target organ, whereas in the sympathetic system, preganglionic fibers are much shorter, synapsing on the sympathetic trunk, a chain of ganglia near the spinal cord that extends approximately from the base of the skull to the coccyx. Postganglionic sympathetic fibers are longer and extend out to their target organs. Pre- and postganglionic fibers of the parasympathetic system, as well as preganglionic fibers of the sympathetic system, primarily use the neurotransmitter acetylcholine, but postganglionic sympathetic fibers mostly rely on norepinephrine. So you can think of acetylcholine as the default, except that organs targeted by the sympathetic activation respond to norepinephrine, whether that comes from postganglionic fibers or from the adrenal medulla. These minute differences won't typically make or break a test score, but it's important to recognize that acetylcholine isn't the only option.